Okay, we'll call to order the Trades Licensing Board meeting for June 6th. Take roll call. Mr. Armstrong?
Present.
Mr. Reeves?
Present.
Mr. Panitsky? He's going to be late. Mr. Newber? Mr. Dietrich?
Here.
Mr. Ziwi?
Here.
Mr. Sessler?
Here.
Mr. Bretz?
Here.
Mr. Schaaf?
Here.
Mr. Hollern?
Here.
Mr. Collins? Mr. Grego? Okay, thank you. Roll call has been taken. Next, you were all notified electronically of the meeting minutes from May. I'll take a motion to approve May's meeting minutes if there's no corrections.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dietrich. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Armstrong. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being that there is none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is the public comment section of the meeting. I believe we have one person today for public comment. Mr. Scott Jackson, if you'd please come up to the podium. Just state your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Scott Jackson. My business is located at 3419 Shannon Road.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to speak to the board today. I appreciate your time and I know it's valuable. My name is Scott Jackson. I am the third generation owner of Jackson Plumbing. My family's roots in the plumbing trade are very deep in Erie, Pennsylvania. My grandfather started his plumbing career back in the 1950s and successfully passed his master's license and started the company in 1964. In the years past, the city of Erie used the Allegheny Plumbing Code. This is the code I was trained on and successfully passed my journeyman and master's license. These were much more difficult tests at the time, and the number of people passing were much fewer because of the knowledge necessary to memorize and become proficient. I was in the same council chambers when City Council voted and approved to change from this code to the current building code. I'm speculating this was about 25 years ago. I was a large part of a large number of licensed plumbing professionals that were against this change. Being a part of that, I can recollect that the majority of the plumbers' concern was that licensing would become obsolete. There would be a number of unlicensed people coming into the city of Erie. We also had great concern about who is going to inspect our work and about their knowledge. We had a number of issues outside the city in all of the outlying counties with the same type of inspections and inspectors. Seeing how it turned out, the fact that the city is in fact trying to turn it around in the other direction proves that the plumbers concerned back 25 years ago, in my opinion, were valid. The amount of unpermitted, unlicensed work by third-party vendors, home warranty companies, contractors, homeowners is unbelievable. We go into homes and businesses all the time and shake our heads and can't believe what we see. I could stand here and speak for hours and show you pictures and you still wouldn't believe it. This is still rampant and out of control today. I guess that being said, my reason for speaking today is that I have several concerns about the changes and then also what happened in the 25 years. Licensing became unnecessary and unimportant. No one asked about license. The city of Erie nor BIU enforced this very little at all in the last 25 years. Honestly, thinking back to the night the code was changed, I feel if you could ask all of the plumbers, they believed that the only reason the city kept licensing at the time was because of the outcry of the plumbers that worked so hard for so many years to successfully pass and have their license. I also believe that these same people felt the city just kept it for the purpose of revenue. What happened was the only reason to have a master's license for plumbing was to be able to operate within the city. Plumbing companies did not worry whether employees were licensed, not as long as they could do the work, because with all due respect, all licensed as long as they could do the work, because in all due respect, if they went to a job site, BIU would pass their work. Speaking with a number of technicians from a number of plumbing companies, they also saw no reason to go through the work and expense to receive a license because unless you were going to own a company, it honestly has not mattered in the last 25 years. In my opinion, I believe this is the fault and responsibility of the plumber, the plumbing companies, and yes, the city of Erie. This was not a problem prior to the code change. Years earlier, contractors and unlicensed plumbers would not come into the city because if they were caught, the work stopped. The business was closed. The work had to be completed by licensed professionals and fines were levied. Plumbing companies insisted on proof of license from anyone they were going to hire, or a new plumber had to sign up to get an apprentice job. I stopped calling in violators years ago because nothing was done. I would go into a job that had no permits. Everything was done illegally. There were no ramifications. I could tell many stories if I had the time. I hear stories all the time of plumbers selling their licenses, taking out permits for contractors, and unlicensed plumbers all the time, until now. Because you're getting strict again with the licensing, which I believe is a good thing, you have a number of people who were hired by companies and are still employed that are more than capable of completing the work legally and professionally, and also, in the past, the city of Erie passed their work. I've had several conversations with Andy Zimmerman and Zach, the new plumbing inspector. I appreciate their time and the opportunity to discuss the matters with them, and as I stated, it was very difficult for me to pass and get my license. So what I'm about to suggest is difficult for me. We, like so many other professions, really need employees. I think if you are looking around, you'll find out the majority of the plumbing companies in the city of Erie are attempting to hire technicians because we have work to complete. All of the technicians that did not take the time to sign up with the city and pass are supposedly supposed to become a first-year apprentice. The problem is the plumbing companies do not have enough licensed people to put in trucks and are going to struggle to find others because of this change. Some of the technicians that might be looking for a job are more than capable of doing the job and have more than enough time working under a licensed master plumber, and the city would pass their work up until recently. I was recently interviewing plumbers for a licensed position. This is a very real problem. What I was suggesting to Andy and Zach was that allowing for a very brief period of time for someone who could prove that they had worked for a licensed plumber through payroll documentation for 4 years to pay a fine, pay past licensing fees, and be required to take and successfully pass a journeyman's exam. They would have to complete all of this within 6 months. In a discussion with Andy, he asked me what the consequence was for these technicians not signing up. And I stated if they had worked for more than 4 years and now passed their test, rather than being a journeyman for 8 years, for an example, they are only a first-year journeyman. If this technician wanted to take his master's exam, he's going to have to wait another 4 years because he did not sign up. This would create a revenue stream for the city of Erie and also give plumbing companies technicians that are legally incapable of completing the work as they have been for a number of years. I would appreciate serious consideration for this. The other issue that I have is that I believe the city's working on is the difficulty to successfully get a plumbing permit. It's a very time-wasting situation to have to come down to City Hall and use up an hour's worth of time to get a permit. Rumor is the city is going to have an online system set up, which would be fantastic and I would appreciate. There is also a lot of confusion, in my opinion, of all these changes. I've had a number of conversations with other plumbers and plumbing company owners. Some of the rumors of permits needed in the city of Erie conflict with the same plumbing code outside the city limits. 25 years ago, we were all told the purpose of the state code was to get rid of the confusion and create a uniform permitting and code enforcement throughout the state. A great example is that the building code states if there's a repair being made, a permit is unnecessary. Outside the city, we do not need a permit to replace a section of old steel water line or a drain line. Only a building permit is pulled, or if there's a major modification. For an example, an addition, a kitchen, a renovation, a new bathroom in the new location, or a bathroom in the basement, for example. There needs to be some way for the city to communicate with all of the plumbing companies so we are aware of these changes that would be different in the city than in the county so that we're not accidentally in a violation. In conclusion, my concern as a plumber for 38 years and the third generation owner of Jackson Plumbing has always been my ability to compete. If customers are calling around for a water heater replacement or a permitted project and my company is following the rules, but other licensed companies, handymen, home centers, unlicensed plumbers are not, then I'm going to get few of these jobs unless code enforcement is making these people aware that they cannot complete these jobs. And if done illegally, the work is removed, fines are levied, and must be completed by permitted and licensed professionals. When the rules are only enforced on the professionals that have something to lose, the people breaking the rules get away with it, and it puts the ones with the license and following the rules at a great disadvantage. It has always amazed me that the code officials are always looking at licensed professional work, but there's a dumpster across the street filled with building materials and these matters are not investigated. To me, this is no different than driving down a highway and obeying the speed limit as a number of cars pass you, only for me to be pulled over by the police. I'm the guy not breaking the law. For inspections, it's 2023. I cannot understand why it would not be possible for some simple projects to have pictures taken by licensed technicians and submitted to the City of Erie. This would document that the work was completed correctly and free up inspectors to go out and attempt to slow down all of the violators. As always, there's an overlap as well. My best example for this is renewing or installing a water service. Erie Waterworks requires the work to be inspected, both the connection at the stop, the pipe going through the ditch, the type of valve inside the house, a pressure reducing valve if necessary, and a dual check valve. All of this work is being documented, including serial numbers on equipment. The plumbers then have to stand around and wait for a second person to look at the same work and document it again, and I'm questioning why. Being that it's 2023 and technology allows everyone to communicate easier, would it be so much to ask for the city to come up with some sort of system where emails could be sent to code officials for violators and also have plumbing companies that are licensed on an email list to send out changes, or maybe send out an email of a situation that happened recently and offer some clarification so that we're all on the same page. I was recently involved in a small project. A small contractor was doing work inside the City of Erie. He did not have proper permits, including a plumbing permit. There was a stop order and the project was shut down. I was asked to bid completing the plumbing repairs. I did so and received the project. I drove down to City Hall and took out a permit and was told that the fees for the project were doubled because of the violation. That's great, however, I was never told that in 38 years of my doing work in the City of Erie, and that has never happened before. I'm the one that ended up paying for the fees because I had bid the job. Had I known that, I could have added those into my cost to the contractor, so I ended up paying fines. Not the contractor, he was not. But if I would have known, I could have done something about it. I appreciate the opportunity, I really do, with you guys. I hope that you just different perspective from a different person. We want to work with you guys. I don't want to work against you guys. But that it's a big problem. I mean, again, I could go on with stories. I did work at Walmart in Elm Street, and they have switched people so many times. They've got guys in there working. I made a comment to the guy, "You're not allowed to do this job." He said, "I'm licensed." I'm like, "You're not in the City of Erie. You can't do electrical work. You can't do plumbing work." But they're hiring the people anyway, and nothing is being done. So then we go in and we tell them they need permits or something. It becomes a big problem. So anyway, thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for your comment. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment? Seeing that there's none, we'll move on in the agenda. Move on to the Secretary's report. The only thing on the Secretary's report is the correspondence is still being reviewed for Mr. Yaros by Andy Zimmerman and Zach Kendall. I imagine that's probably still going on, so there's no action to be taken on that today. It appears that we have no correspondence in the correspondence section of the agenda. Just to go over the old business section of the meeting, Seth Jackson's journeyman plumber application was approved. Eligibility to test letter was sent to Mr. Jackson on 5/3. Eric Schwarer's mechanical application was returned to him to either obtain an additional verifier or get his existing verification pages completed. And last letters were mailed out to both Mark Melber and Andrew Peden, informing them of their applications being denied. Moving on to new business. There's one electrical application that came in at the last minute. That would be Aaron Brown. Mr. Brown was an apprentice, registered apprentice from 2008 to 2013, and a registered journeyman from 2014 to current. Christie, I'm looking through this application and the verifiers page is not complete. On page 5 and page 6. Oh, I'm sorry.
He typed it in, yeah, it was kind of.
Okay, I'm saying,
He typed everything in, so it looks blank.
oh,
originally.
my mistake. I guess I better get my glasses checked. I'm sorry. It looks blank when you first glance at it. Understood. Understood. Is page 7 the only verifier initial page, or is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
TJ, if you're looking for action on that, I'll make a motion to approve him to take his test.
Mr. Armstrong made the motion to approve the application. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Brett. Is there any question on the motion? Any question on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Next, we'll move on to the plumbing applications. The first one is Mr. Steve Eastbourne. Mr. Eastbourne was an apprentice from 2006 to 2015 and has been a journeyman since 2015 to current. Everything appears to be in order with Mr. Eastbourne's application. His verifier is complete. So I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve Mr. Eastbourne's application for the master's license exam. Is there a second? Second by Doug Armstrong. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it, so moved. Okay. For the next 3 applications, I'm going to abstain, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to the vice chair because I am the verifier on the next 3 applications, and I'm not That would be a conflict of interest for me to discuss anything about that, although I will be available for anyone up here as a witness to anything on the verification, so should there be any questions. So at this time, I turn the meeting over to the Vice Chair, Mr. Todd Dietrich.
Thanks, Chairman. Next on the agenda is the application to test for a journeyman license for Cody Hunter.
I have a question, and it's not just Cody, but it's the remaining candidates. I didn't see anything in the packets that verified the education portion of, these guys are all serving apprenticeships, various apprenticeships. But I couldn't find anything in the packet that verified the school hours that these people have participated in. Is that an oversight on my part, or is that an oversight on the submittal packet?
Are you asking me a question?
Well, I'm just putting it out for general conversation.
I think that comes down to the verifier. You know, the verifier as the master that's signing that, would that make sense?
Well,
You're
the-
verifying they have the hours?
Well, my contention on that is the verifier is actually their working knowledge, and they've worked with them.
True.
The second part of the apprenticeship is the education, and that's a requirement that's in the application. And these guys all have apprenticeship cards, and 2 or 3 of them are actually in union apprenticeship programs. So I know they're going to school. They've got letters of recommendation from instructors. So obvious to me that they've gone to school, but there's nothing in there that says, I've completed my hours of education.
I don't think that's a requirement for the education.
I think
Is it in the application?
I don't think we require.
I don't think it's
It's
required.
not re-
It's
yeah,
not.
It's not
So if you look
required.
for like a certificate of completion or something like that?
If you slide up to the beginning of the form, keep going, somewhere in there, doesn't it say, keep going,
And right there, even down a little, I think that's,
right there,
yeah.
All candidates must have met the following education requirements: high school or GED, and then obtain a passing grade in examination of ICC requirements.
Right, look here now on number 5.
I thought it was before that.
Educational.
Where we at, beginning?
There is no.
Employment.
Is that what they
There,
said?
When no
and then it's a
program.
level of education comparable to an apprenticeship program, or has a degree. So somewhere, don't they have to document that they've had the education?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Because if we were to back up for just a second,
The
we just
electrical,
approved for
yes.
a master's license, and there's no educational requirement on that.
No, but in order to get the journeyman, I thought the education, you had to have.
That's on the electrical.
The
It says
master
or,
license.
on the job experience or education.
Yeah.
But I can testify to the fact that all 3 of the next applications are registered with the state of Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry as registered apprentices.
But there is no requirement for education.
No,
No. Electrical,
There
correct?
is for electrical.
Yeah, not plumbing.
correct.
But answering your question, the last electrical application completed, he had a certificate that he completed his apprenticeship, so he was a journeyman, so that proved that he
And I
had.
think that's what.
So that's the
prompted
start of
it.
the process.
He had
It's
4
probably the
years.
electrical one you're thinking of.
I think that's what prompted it, because I
We-
took them in this order, and Brown was the first one I reviewed, and I saw the completion of his apprenticeship, and I made the assumption that,
But both applications aren't the same.
okay. Then I have no issue.
Tell the vice chair.
Then I have no issue.
Move on.
Sorry, Todd.
Any other comment on Cody Hunter's application? In that case, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor approving Mr. Hunter to test for a journeyman's license signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed to allow Mr. Hunter to take the journeyman exam.
Let the record show that I abstained from the vote, please.
Sorry, TJ. All right, next is Brian Laufenberg, also a current apprentice license holder, beginning his apprenticeship in 2019.
I would make a motion to approve him as well, with one exception. His apprenticeship time does not expire by license until 9/23. So after 9/23, he would then have his 4 years of apprenticeship completed, unless I'm reading those dates wrong.
Is it actual dates or documented hours?
No, these are dates on apprenticeship cards, when he's had, when he was certified an apprentice, or licensed as an apprentice. I'm gonna choose my words carefully. And he's 9/23.
Yeah, I understand that, Mr. Armstrong.
But he obtained his license with us in February.
He was registered by the state in May of 19.
I didn't see.
On page 5,
If you look at my verifier page, we registered him on the state level, we registered him on the 23rd of May. In other words, our training office, it took them a little bit of time to submit the registrations to the city, is what I'm getting at. There was a lag time.
So was he registered with the city of Erie for 4 years?
This will be his 4th year.
Okay.
yes.
I just saw the Allegheny County cards.
I believe they took the Allegheny exam already.
so he worked under TJ's supervision since May 24th of 2019 as an apprentice.
That is correct.
Oh, Brian.
How do you say his name? Lauenberg?
Laufenberg.
Laufenberg. Okay.
Yeah, I see what Doug's saying on the Allegheny County Health Department. It says 9/19, but on the verifier, he did start.
And I didn't see
In
an
May
Erie, an Erie date on that to, like I'm being pointed out in May.
Right.
If there was one from May of '23, I wouldn't have brought it up, but the only one I can see is 9/23.
Any other questions on this application?
I'd make a motion to approve it.
A. Brett has made a motion to approve this application. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. How about any questions on the motion?
Is that approving him to take that test today or in September?
According to the verifiers page, it was in May that he started. We could ask for additional documentation to get from his apprentice JTF or committee to
Yeah.
send us the actual start date.
If there was anybody else who signed that verifier, I would have an issue with that.
Right.
Knowing the individual who signed that verifier, I assume that everything there is above board. What's to say that I don't fill one out next week and put in any date I want, and it's unsubstantiatable with any further documentation? So,
Okay.
that's my only point. So, if you're gonna approve him, does he wait until September, or does he do it now? And I know making a mountain out of a molehill.
It's reality.
It's any time. They can schedule,
test be?
they can schedule their own exam at any time.
Schedule it whenever.
Because that would make him his 4 years, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I think I think it should be September. That's my opinion too. And it was, unless he can prove that it was May, right?
Yeah. And I'm not picking on this individual, I don't know this individual.
Me neither.
I'm just saying in future, when somebody can't prove what they've said they've done, and the verifier says that's what it is, do we use that verifiers as, it supersedes any written documentation?
Would you like a copy of all three of these individuals' bios? I can print them for you and I can send them to you to prove when they were employed.
That's not the issue I have, TJ. I'm not doubting your word one bit. It's all future. If you make this exception, that the verifier's page supersedes any other documentation, that we don't need to look at the other stuff, all we need to do is look at the verifier's page.
And somebody could slap any date they wanted on it.
TJ's, above board with this stuff. He came right out and said, hey, I'm gonna recluse myself here so that there's no conflict of interest. I appreciate that. I think he's an above board guy. I don't think he'd alter anything. I'm sure he's got more documentation to substantiate that 5/23 date than anything else the guy could submit. It's just the issue of the dates don't jive, which is gonna take precedent on a go-forward basis.
Mr. Bretz, there is a motion on the floor. Do you care to amend your motion or withdraw your motion?
We could amend that so that he could take the test at the prescribed date, which would be September. Or would we amend that to state that we're waiting on
Additional information at the
additional
most.
information?
I would accept that. I mean, I would vote for that if he either can show the 5/20, or I keep saying 5/23, you can show the May date, or if he can't, then he waits until September. And then in the future, I don't have any problems.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of order. The last two applications have the consistent dates, so you're doing two different things here. You're approving two and not approving this one. That's just a point of order I had. It seems that there's two different things going on here. My point is, if you're gonna do one, do them all the same, if that's what you're trying to do here. That's my point.
Is the previous application got the same dates on it?
It does.
It does.
It makes no difference to me if they wait. I think that's up to you guys. I mean, it makes no difference to me.
Put him as the verifier. He's verifying that. That's the dates he worked.
Correct,
That-
100%.
I guess that's my point too. It's he verified that this guy worked under him during these dates. You know what I mean?
We register all of I'll just make a comment about, we register all of our apprentices at the same time.
TJ, you're not my problem.
I understand, I'm just, these guys don't know this, is why I'm saying. You know it already.
Yeah.
We register them all at the same time, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on between the time we get their registration in, they go to orientation, so our office gets lagged behind a little bit. So that's why there's basically 3 months difference between when they got their actual money into the city for the license. It's not that they didn't start, on the May date, which they did absolutely, and I have that in my system, obviously. So it's just that their registration didn't get here until the time in September. So that's all.
We do have Mr. Sandel's comments in the minutes for the verifiers page that he did in fact start in May. Are you good with your original motion, Abe, or did you want to amend it or withdraw it?
Kind of puzzling. Because I see where the dates can have a binding effect later on. And the lag time to make somebody wait that extra couple months is really the,
I guess at the time of the application is where additional proof.
well, we already approved one.
We did, yeah. But in the future too, when someone does apply, maybe it's a thing we need to talk about, a requirement, say, hey, I know TJ put May on there, but show us it is May. He knows it, like, and
he could
it
more
makes
than
perfect
likely
sense what's
produce-
going on.
He could more than likely produce proof that he had been
Absolutely,
working
yeah.
at that time.
Yeah,
I would make a motion to approve that. This
I'll second it.
All right, there is a motion, a second. Any more discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
I abstain from the vote. Thank you.
Motion passed.
Excuse me, Bob.
Christie.
So we're scratching the original one for Mr. Sessler and Abe, or is that two different people now?
Mr. Hunter was already approved to test.
Right, for Mr., for Brian,
Brian is approved to test as well.
correct, but originally, Mr. Sessler and Mr. Brett's already approved that. Now we just had two different people approve and second it.
Oh, I'm
Before
sorry.
discussion, prior to discussion.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're-
Mr. Bretz made the motion to approve, and
And he seconded it, now we just had we had Ricky and someone else just do, so.
Mr. Armstrong voted no, and TJ abstained from voting.
There's another,
No, there was another.
Abe has done another, he had the motion, amended that motion.
And
Oh.
Ricky seconded, so what is the second one to wait until September, or are we?
No, that was,
No, that was just approved.
That was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just
approved.
He's
So the
approved.
ori- So the original two are scratched,
Yes.
what I'm asking.
Yeah, the motion was made to approve them without condition.
Okay. But who did the motion and who seconded it? Because the first time we had Brett and Sessler, and now we just had someone else and. Ricky.
I seconded it to approve.
Right,
yes.
He motioned it.
Yeah, Brett,
so.
Hey,
Brett
Brett.
and- So is it Brett and Reed or Brett and Sessler?
Bretton Reeves.
Okay,
Right.
but
I seconded it.
originally Brett and Sessler did it.
No, I didn't, he didn't.
No, sorry.
He seconded,
Sorry.
he seconded the
Sorry,
final first.
seconded. So who
it
are we
Monday?
having here approving who was seconded?
He approved it, I second it. Right?
Okay, so we're just.
Right?
Okay,
that's
He
what
made
we're
the
going
motion.
with.
Approve the amended motion.
okay, all right.
Sorry about that, Christie.
Yeah, because you had two motions out.
I forgot about that.
All right.
So, she's clarifying which motion
We're going with.
we're gonna
Okay.
go with and vote on.
So the motion to approve him to test is the motion
Yes.
we went
Yes.
with.
Okay.
Can I ask a question of Andy? What would the normal, what has historically been done in these situations? Do they have to wait till that anniversary date before they can take their test? Or is it like a calendar year, you know, they didn't enroll in a program for 4 calendar years?
We make them wait the 4 years.
Till their anniversary date?
Yes, that's when they're eligible. And that they've had a license for those 4 years.
I'd like to make a motion then that we wait till all of them have their anniversary date, that they can then take their test once we've already approved.
We already have approved motions for them to test.
You would have to, what you could do is approve them to test after September. And then they would not have to come back to the board. They would just be approved.
That's what I was trying to.
But you would-
say, that they have to have their anniversary date before they can be tested. They're approved right now. Once their anniversary date comes, then they can test after that date. But they're approved to test at this point until they hit their anniversary date.
Yes, and the board can do that. You can also go back, you would have to make a motion to go back and adjust Cody and Brian's.
Thank you.
Bill, did you make that motion to adjust those two applications? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Christie.
Can we have them test and then not obtain their license until September? Can we do it that way? Will that be okay?
I think I'd rather them just wait until their time. I mean, personally, this is my own personal.
Hey, can I make
Wait
a,
until their time. If they can do it online and schedule their own testing, I don't see the problem in them waiting a couple months to hit their anniversary date and then do their
look,
testing.
can I explain something real quick, if you don't mind? About, this covers this whole subject, and the reason why we do this test, we try to get this test in June, is because in the last semester of their educational classes, they're given the code. The code class is taught between March, or the end of February and May. So we give them that code class in school to make sure they're ready for the exam. If these get pushed out now till September, this is out of the guy's mind for 3 months now. So that's why we do this. That's why we, between year 1 and year 3, or the 4th year, that's 385 hours of in-classroom education, and per year, and we make sure that that lines up with their exam. We've always done that. We make their exam line up in June, right when they get out of class, and that code class is fresh in their mind. That's why we did it. That's just my comment on why.
So there could be proof of the, so we have a conflict with the verifiers page and with the card from the state for the apprenticeship. If there was proof that they actually did start their apprenticeship in May of 19, would everybody be okay with accepting that and allowing them to test?
I think Christie hit it on the head with letting them take the exam and then don't give them their license till September. That's just just because if I wouldn't really say much about it, other than I feel bad that the guys took the class and they're all prepared for the test, and then, they have to wait now.
Who issues the license? All right, so if she's issuing it, we just make a motion that they can take the test at any time, but license would not be issued until their anniversary date.
Is that your motion?
I retract my motion because I still have the open motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I'm not making a friendly amendment, it's kind of a little different, so we have that.
If you want to make that motion.
Yeah, I'll move that we approve these,
There's 3 of them, right?
well,
We haven't done the third yet, but
So here's one little concern is, like Andy was saying, in the future, like, they did not allow, Chrissy, you never allowed anybody to test until they had their anniversary dates, right?
Correct.
So for future applications, if someone does come in,
Say that someone wants to.
this could happen every month now.
Come in early.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, take the test in 6 months.
yeah, we'd be setting a precedent.
That's my only concern is,
Everybody try and jump in. Must be-
and I see his concern.
This date thing is baffling to me because I've never been involved in an apprenticeship program, but is it the date that he started the apprenticeship program, or is it the date that someone issued some card?
That's-
from
yeah.
Harrisburg. I mean, it takes 3 months to get anything out of Harrisburg. I mean, I don't know how this operates, so, I don't know how this works. If it's started the date he applied and made the application and signed it and sent it in, and then by the time they process it, they put the date that they mailed it out, I mean, that's what I'm asking.
Well, for us, I think moving forward after these, I'll expedite them making sure that they're done right at the,
I think if anybody that has this situation, if their card says October or whatever, and they can prove the 4 months, why not? They have that extra 4 months. before the city issued the card, you know? But it all comes down to proving that they have their their time and their hours.
Yeah.
The dates is just a lapse in, okay, we started, paperwork's finished, let's get it down there.
Yeah.
That's the lapse in time.
Right.
It's really not a work history.
Yes.
It's more or less just, this guy does it, that guy does it, okay, you take it down there. That's
Yeah.
the quick of it, really. As simple as it sounds,
It is that simple.
but yeah.
But what you're opening up then is next June, I want my journeyman's card. And I got 6 more months to serve of my apprenticeship, and I can say, wait a minute, last year you did this. I mean,
Correct.
that's the problem with
But again, it falls to the date, and if they can verify the date, I don't have a problem.
I agree. They can verify that they have those.
So the motion that's out now is to approve them to take the test, but they wouldn't actually get their license until September.
I don't believe there's a motion on the floor.
I haven't presented that yet.
Okay.
That's,
That's a consideration.
that's a consideration at this point. Or the verifier comes back with the information required, and they go ahead and take the test, and once the information is verified. And that doesn't happen. We've already approved that, and that doesn't need to be, if that's documented, we have that, they can take the test at the end of June.
it. And then it could be between TJ and Andy's office.
Right.
It's the same as asking paperwork from other gentlemen, you know, the same thing.
We're about to get clarification.
Yeah, Mr. Zimmerman.
Okay. So what the ordinance, you have 2 possible scenarios. A Pennsylvania board certified apprentice program. It's not number of years. It's 4 years for that program, but it's 8,000 hours. It does not give you what you're required to have for a license, number of years with the city of Erie. It gives you 8,000 hours and that program. But then, if there is no apprenticeship program, then it's 4 years. So there's a difference between a union apprenticeship program and non-union, where the non-union's looking at 4
Including
years.
education, yeah. Including education, they would.
So,
But to the way that reads, Andy, TJ's right, his verification date would stand because that's the date those individuals were certified with the state. In a certified
It would-
state apprenticeship
It would
program.
stand because they have 8,000 hours.
Which is 3.8 years at 40 hours a week.
Right. So they have the hours,
You're almost.
not necessarily the time, but if there's no apprenticeship program, it goes by time,
Years.
not hours.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, you're talking 3 months difference.
Not splitting hairs.
You did 40 hours
Yeah.
a week, it's 3.8 years. If you did
Do
40
you
hours a
have
week
your
for 4
original
years,
apprenticeship
you know.
card when they got it?
No, I checked the date.
And it was, all of them were September?
February, no, they were February 2020.
So,
So I started
Busy.
with him in May of 2019.
so you could look at it, that the union folks, 8,000 hours. And the 4-year apprenticeship program. So did they reach the 8,000 hours? But by your verifier saying yes, they did.
Yes, including their education, yes.
Is there a
So that's
certificate of
no issue.
completion?
Not that I
It's
see.
not an issue.
I'm not gonna say whether it is or not, but
They've got closer to 10,000 hours, 5-year apprenticeship.
yeah, but they're not at the 5-year mark. So,
Sure.
But regardless, I mean, they've got over 8,000 hours.
Well, we do have a motion that was passed to let them take the test. Any other questions? All right, moving on to Mr. Garrett O'Brien.
I thought he was in the motion.
I'm sorry?
I thought Hunter, however you say Laufenberg's name.
Laufenberg.
Laufenberg and O'Brien, I thought all 3 three of those guys were in that motion.
I don't think
Well, we
there was a
didn't-
motion.
There was no
There was no motion on the
We
floor.
didn't talk about Brian yet.
Yeah.
So they were gonna incorporate that, say, all three of them, and all the dates are the same. At this point, you just approve him and we've done the others, verify.
Yeah, he's the same as the others in my opinion. So if you want a motion to approve O'Brien, I'll make that motion.
There is a motion to approve O'Brien to test. There's this, Mr. Armstrong made the motion. Who's second? Mr. Panitsky? Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain from the vote. Thank you.
The vote passed to allow Mr. O'Brien to test. Next is Jason Ludwig, applying for a journeyman license.
He's got his time. Here's a premise.
Hey, Christie, I have a quick question. All these applications, they have paid all their proper dues?
Yes.
Okay. That-
Christie, his verifier is a city of Erie license
Yes,
master.
he is. Michael Wetmore.
Michael Wetmore.
It appears to me that he's never been registered as an apprentice with the city. Is that correct?
Who has it?
Mr. Ludwig,
No, he's had a license since 2012.
apprentice?
Yeah.
It says right there, 9/13/12.
Oh, okay. Oh, my
And
mistake.
he's current on his dues, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Correct.
What about
he's been an apprentice for 10 years.
10-year apprentice?
13? No, 12.
That's a long time. It's a long time to be an apprentice. I don't-
20 years, yeah, that's,
Maybe he can lend some of his stuff to the other
It's a
guy.
long
he's got some hours in it, I guess.
He's probably really good at cleaning up the job site.
This one's pretty straightforward, if you
Yeah.
ask me. I'll make the motion to approve Mr. Ludwig's application.
Second.
I'm sorry, my mouth was hurt. Thank you.
Should have been turned back over to you.
Just finish.
All right. Any questions on the motion to approve Mr. Ludwig? Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Mr. Ludwig is approved to examine for the journeyman license. This time I'll turn the meeting back over to TJ Sandell.
Thank you. Okay, lastly, we have Eric Schweiers reapplying for his mechanical. His verifier was incomplete. This board said it rejected his application to an incomplete verifier. He has resubmitted his verifier. For some reason, I don't have a copy of it in front of me.
I don't either.
Did you send that up?
Ryan Tinko completed it.
Okay, did you send that out? I don't,
Completed verification?
yeah.
No.
Oh,
Not
okay.
here, but for some reason, it looks like it's going a little funky.
Say that again, Christie, I'm sorry.
The entire, this page is scanned landscape, I'm thinking, not
Oh,
landscape.
no.
So it skips a few,
I see.
but it's complete.
But it's complete. Okay. Everything was fine on the last application other than some of the line items missed on the verifier.
Oh, that he was just missing 3 or 4 things.
Yeah, and according to Christie, he returned the application.
Christie,
fully
was it the
complete.
same verifier? Or
Yes.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, they're all, you can see it better on here, they're all BT.
Yeah.
Well, if it's fully complete, I don't see any reason why. I don't have any reservations about it.
Who is the verifier?
Brian Tinko.
Brian Tinko. Okay. Make the motion. 2012, so he's got 10 years.
I'll make the motion to approve Mr. Schweier's application for master appliance installer test. Second by Mr. Panitsky. Are there any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Mr. Dietrich indicated that he abstains from the vote.
Who is the employer? I couldn't read that.
He's self-employed,
Okay.
Tin Leaf Airworks.
Okay.
The motion passes. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be moved for July. It will be Tuesday, July 11th, because the holiday falls on our normal meeting day. If there's no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting till July 11th. Motion by Doug, second by Mike Ziwi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is closed. Thank you.